Okay, YouTubers and HO fans, I'm going to do a different process for converting these Proto 1000 RDCs to DCC. I'm still going to use the Digitrax SDH166 decoders. I get those programmed and I buy them from Yankee Dabbler. You can go to yankeedabbler.com and order these if you like it. At the end I'll have a little thing on the screen so you can see it. Anyway, you can see this is an older Amtrak. It's an older model of the Proto 1000s. It's brand new. And when I open it up, you'll see a board in it, but it won't look like this. This is the new board that they've started putting in them now. And usually I was drilling holes in the old boards and putting the lights in them, but I've developed another process that works out really good and can be used on these. This is the back of one. And these light strips have 12-volt LEDs, and as you can see there's going to be 8 of them going through the cabin. And now you can buy these in packages like this. This is one of the long ones. They also have short ones. That little piece in there you see was cut off the one that's in there. Or like I do, you can also buy them by the roll, this being like an old Super 8mm film can, and then you can just cut them to lengths. As you can see, if I can zoom in a little bit here, right where it's cut off you can see the soldering points. So every once in a while on these things, and it's a defined end on it, I think it's probably easier to see right here, you cut right between those, and then you can solder wires as they have right on those little points right there, noting that the black one's on the negative side, the red one's on the positive side. So I'm going to go ahead and open this thing up. We'll do a little bit more with this, and I'm going to go through the process of how I'm doing this now. And by the way, these are self-adhesive. You just peel the back strip off of them, and they stick really, really well. And that gives you some really nice lights in. Like I say, they're 12-volt DC. And then I'll show you how you wire them up into the Digitrax SDH166 decoder. So we'll get back in a minute. Okay, to open these up, we're going to have to remove the coupler boxes on both ends, and we're not going to have to go through this too much. Then you'll notice there are 4 screws. One here. I'm sorry, I had the camera in the wrong place. Some of these are pretty tight. They're a little tough to get started, especially when you're right-handed. So you take out these 4 screws. There's 2 more right here, 1 on each side. And I use these little cups like you see over here, and I'll put the spare parts in those so I keep track of where they're at. Then you got the last coupler box. And once those are off, I'll get back to this and show you how easy it is to take this apart. So give me a minute. Okay, once you have all the parts, screws and stuff out, the shell just comes right off. And we'll put that aside where it's safe. Now this board is the old board, and I'm not going to use these lights. I'm going to use the yellow glows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this board off and save it for another day. I'm not going to mess with it at all. And I'm going to install this board in its place, because it's DCC ready. As you can see, I just have to take this out and plug in the Digitrax decoder. So of course this is nothing more than just popping off all these little plastic clips, pulling the wires out. Nothing to it but to do it. Whoops, went further than I thought. That one did too. Oh well. So get those off, pull the wires out, and then remove the 4 screws that hold this thing down, and then that'll be out of there. Then we can start getting ready to put some people inside of it, fix this up, then we'll install the new board, and it should be pretty simple. As you can see, there's room even underneath there for those lights to go underneath, because they're going to go far enough forward. They're going to go up to about here, this being a RDC2. So we'll get back to this in a second. Okay, so the old board is out, and the new board is just put in place for now, because before I install it I want to go ahead and put the folks in. And I use a 1/100ths instead of a 1/87. stuff to cut their legs off to get them in there. It's pretty tight. And to put them in, I use a Super RC Z56. Another thing I do is the lights in these things, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do them later, but as you can see inside of there, that white stuff is RZC56. I put that around the lights very carefully so I don't block the windows or anything. And that makes those stay in place, because when I put the strip over the top of it, it's going to be fairly tight once I use a heat shrink. And then once that happens, it could pull off when the light goes in. So that I have to do yet. Okay, so I've been putting some of these little people in, as you can see. I like them back here because they hide those wires in the middle. Then I just kind of keep picking them up. I've got two really tiny ones right there sitting side by side. These are small, so it's difficult for fat fingers. So let's see what happens here. Put her right here. She kind of said okay, but I need a toothpick to kind of straighten her out a little. There we go. So that's kind of how they go. It's not all that difficult. This is a great big old rod here. Wow. I think I might have, yeah, that's the wrong size. So let's put this guy in here then. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Like I say, if you don't kind of like the way they're sitting, just kind of shuffle around a little bit. Then I'll put a couple people standing in the middle like they're trying to go to their seat. And that'll be it. We'll come back and look at it later. Okay, we're going to take a look now at both ways of doing this. Now this one we looked at earlier. And put the light strip on it. That works out fine. You've got the positive and negative come across, and they will hook into the sound side. The positive will hook into the blue wire, which is no big thing. That's easy enough to do. You can splice in it anytime, anywhere, because they're basically down here on either this end or this end, so you can just double up on that with the blue wire. So this just gets, that's a short pin. You don't want it to be the long one, it's got to be the short. So it's no longer than these guys here. Really short. Now, the standard board, if you're working with the older ones, as you can see now, the black is liquid tape, electrician's tape. And I didn't really need it, but I wanted it on there anyway. Now when you put this strip on, you have a couple problems. For example, P6, you can see through the light, you can see the tape underneath there. So P6, if I drill through there, I'm going to hit right at that light. And I certainly didn't want to do that. So for P6, I just went ahead and hooked the white wire in the resistor up here. Now I'm putting in a 3 to 4 volt Minitronics yellow glow. Then you can see on P2, if you're looking at these things, that's P1, P2, there is no P3. P4 is the black wire, then P5 is the orange, P6 is the white, but you can't use it here, P7 is the blue, and it cleared, and then P8 is the red pickup. So it kind of gets you in there. As you can see, I've cut the diodes off, and I've bridged D7 and R1 and D4, and that makes this board compatible for DCC. Now this light, when this light comes in, it'll come from the front of the locomotive right up there, and when that light's on there, I'll just run a wire back and pigtail right onto that that FL2 right there. Then L1 is the blue wire. So this is pretty simple, really. I just cut these wires to the right length. The resistors are put in, and when I'm all done, I cut the extra length off the wires. Doesn't matter. So I can put either one of these in this locomotive now, and I'll see later which one I want to use. It came with this board, but it can also use this board. So I think that's about it for the time being. If you have any questions, please be sure and ask. I use this liquid paste. I've shown this so many times if you're new to this, but I like this stuff. I've got regular solder, but this is really a good stuff. I really enjoy using it. It's easy to work with. You only get 50 grams when you buy this thing, but it's just so versatile. You put so little on there, you don't even know it. So it works out really well. I like it. And as you can see, where I've soldered the terminals on here, it's a pretty clean job. Very little solder. It's even hard to see where the solder is, but I trust me, it's there. These wires are very, very secure. And I use very, very little paste to make this thing a good connection. So it's got the solder, it's got the flux built into it. You do have to clean a little bit of the flux off when you're done, but you should do that when you normally flux and use solder anyway. You want to get it all off of there. So that's what this looks like. And it's getting late, so we'll continue with this a little bit later. See how it comes along. One thing I probably should have noted was when you do this board, you can see the nice shiny runs here. And then you can see this dull hole right here. There was an X there, and it tells you to X cut for DC. See, so you can see there's two there, one under the P6, one right there, then there's one more right underneath the red wire, between the red and the orange wire. You got to make sure that is totally cut. They tell you just use a knife. I like using my drills. I start out small, then I end up with a 3mm, and as you can see, that basically leaves a hole, not all the way through. I don't want to damage anything on the bottom, but all the way through, there's no way that current's going to get transmitted through that conductor. That conductor is totally separated. So that's just something I thought I should kind of bring up real quick, and you can see really clear there where they are. What I really like about the solder paste is, I think you can see the paste is on there. I hope you can see it. Then I just touch it with the soldering iron, and as soon as it turns silver, it's done. And I think I lost a wire here, so I got to go back and redo that. Oh, nope, it's still there. Okay. Okay, that's all it takes. I've got the motors up and these connectors up here up as well. So I'm putting this old board back on it. I need a decoder, and then we can see how it works. Okay, for those of us that live in the world of production and engineering, this is R1. This is a revision. This is a different board, and it's going to go in the Chicago Northwestern RS2, RDC2, excuse me. And as you can see, I've got 7 and 4 done like on the other one, and I've got the resistor done as well. But you can notice I've got the 470 ohm resistors for the headlight and the tail light installed in the board, and I've got all the leads wired in to the plug. And the way I did it this time was I desoldered all but 4 and 7, which I don't think I'm going to do again. That was such a pain, and I think it endangers the board, so I'm just not going to do it again. But anyway, I did. And then I took my soldering iron and I pushed the wires up so everything was flush. Then when I wired all this in, then I cut those wires. And so I was able to put this on last. And this is one of those off the roll that I cut to lengths. It's the same lengths as the other one. It's white. These are 12 volt DC. I will use the resistor. So I didn't use black and red. I don't have any black and red in this size wire. So I used yellow because I'm going to hook up to the yellow on the sound side of the Digitrax decoder. So that works out pretty good anyway. And then the blue wire I didn't have, so I used this, which is supposed to be the black, but it's going to go to the blue wire eventually. It'll hook up to one of the light ends, piggy-tailed. So that'll work out fine. So this, I think, is a better way to do it. I think it's safer. It worked out fine. So this is kind of a different way to do it. I think it's a better way to do it. You can do whatever you want. but I kind of like this process better because it lets me put things where they belong. And I'll remind you too that the machine screws go in this end, and the PKs, or what we call the sheet metal screws, go in this end when you put it back together. So try and keep that straight so you don't mess up the screws or the holes. So anyway, that's how it looks. I think it's a better way to do it. I hope you do too, and I hope you find this an easier way and a better way. Okay, this is not just a new locomotive or a Bud rail car. This is an RDC1 Southern Pacific number 10, SP10. But I want to kind of review the difference between this generation and the older generation that had the DC boards in it instead of the DCC ready. They've made some improvements on these things. Now they still have the same couplers, the same motor system. I think most of it's changed or stayed the same, but one thing I really like about this thing is the grates, the grills on these things are blackened. All of them. I mean, that's tough to do. It can be done, but it's really tough to do, so most of us don't even do it. But these are all blackened. And I think you can also tell that the paint job on these things is much different. It's much nicer than it was. We can get really close with this thing, look in as we go through it. I'm impressed. I think this is really nice. I think they've really improved these things. I mean, I don't know if they have a new manufacturer or what's going on. This is brand new out of the box. And I'm going to open it up and start the revision to DCC using my Digitrax SDH166 decoder. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the new speakers I'm putting in, which are basically laptop speakers, deep bass. And when I get done with this one, I'll let you listen to it, because I like them. I think they're really nice. So we'll get back to this. Okay, this is the inside of the Southern Pacific, which is the new generation. It's all done. The Digitrax decoder is in. I used the 8-point plug. That's the first time I've done this using the DCC ready board. Let's see how it works out. I've left the original lights in, which are kind of like a golden glow. Everything is soldered. All the wires are kind of put in place. Got a bunch of folks in here. Got a little bit of light in there for them so you can see them. Got a lot of light in the main passenger compartment. And I'm going to put this back together, put the screws in it, put the couplers back on, and then we'll run it, take a look at it, and listen to it. Like I said, I like this new decoder. This one I put the speaker up here. It's a Hitachi deep bass laptop speaker, and I like them. They sound really good, but we'll let you listen to it here in just a minute. Okay, it's all back together. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the interior lights. That's F4. I've got the sound turned way down low. But anyway, you can see it looks really nice. You can see inside the compartment. I'm in my great-grandson's bedroom, so excuse the mess, but this is where I get to work. We have a deal. I didn't install the yellow glows. I left the lights that come with it, but they have them like a boot around them. I had to cut away to get the lights to really work well. And they do. It's in forward. Put it in reverse. The bell's not real loud, but you can turn that up. So just a quick look at it, you can hear it. It's got the McHenry couplers on it, which comes with it. I guess Proto owns them now. Turn the headlights on. So just a quick look at it. I guess this is a new generation. It came out this year, I believe. And, well, they just look so much better. I still like the old ones. I've got a bunch of them. Because my Rock Islands, of course, they're all the old ones. So this is just a quick look. Hope you appreciate it. You can hear the sound of the Digitrax SDH166 decoder. When I buy these things from Yankee Dabbler, I ask that they go ahead and download the RDC sound. They will also do the doodlebugs for me. They'll basically do whatever you ask. They have a tremendous library. They do them down in Florida and they mail them to you. So it just takes a couple more days. But if you don't like Digitrax because you don't have a PR1 or you don't want to have to download your own sounds, Yankee Dabbler will be glad to do it for you. So when you order them on their online store, yankeedabbler.com, you just tell them what you want in the remarks column. So anyway, thanks for watching. Okay, what you're hearing is the Southern Pacific I just finished. Brand new. Got the decoder in it. Put one of these speakers in it. The long one. It's a deep bass. And it's up in the crown like I did the other ones, the 28 millimeters that Digitrax used to provide. I think it sounds good. We'll hear the horn. Hit two buttons at one time. Turn the bell off.